Ladies and gentlemen, Duty Honor Real Estate, episode 12, and we got an incredible one. The Garden of Matt Eden is here. Welcome to the show. Let's get right into it. You joined the Army at 16?
No, Brian, it was 17, but it was pretty young. I'd say I really joined the Army to pay for college, and then pretty quickly fell in love with it all and met some incredible people who pushed me to go and, apply to West Point and everything. And so there's a whole journey to that. But the main motivation was really focused on college.
What did you do at 17 in the Army?
Well, 17, I did basic training and then went and finished senior year because, obviously hadn't graduated yet. And then I went and became a radar technician. So we worked on all the different radar systems that monitored for incoming mortar and artillery. I never deployed, but that was kind of what we trained for.
Wow. And you talked about a group that supported you, that helped you make a decision. I imagine when you were in the Army, there was something that called you to do the next chapter.
Yeah, I think I personally really loved the camaraderie of it all, and I love the culture of the Army and having a bigger purpose outside of yourself. And I honestly had never even heard of West Point when I was in high school. I'm from a really small town in southern Illinois. And, I thought I was the very first one from my high school to ever go to West Point. Turns out there was a guy from the class of 1953 who was from my same hometown. But so I never even knew what West Point was. And there was an officer who suggested, hey, you should apply. And I was like, you're crazy. But he kept up and really kind of advised me to do that. So then I did apply and ended up going to the prep school right after.
I'm a prepster too.
Hey,
so good to know. The real you. That's so cool. And it's really cool to see how people help you get to that next stepping stone. I really love that. But I imagine the stepping stone into West Point was pretty tough. So talk about, going from enlisted so young right into West Point College, and talk about that experience.
Honestly, I would say, you experienced the prep school. I'm sure you have kind of a frame of reference. I was the first full year to be at the prep school at West Point's campus. And I would say prep school really set me up for success, and I was really happy with that experience. It was a good transition between a non-academic setting like I was in the Army and kind of easing into it and practicing good study habits and really focusing on the academics of things.
Yeah, and one of the academics I think you focused on was pretty interesting. American politics and systems engineering.
Yeah. So the American politics side of it, we're pretty divisive currently. There's a lot of, anxiety, and there are a lot of feelings surrounding politics today. I will say, I think the West Point academic, rigor and the way that we did things within the social departments, the Department of Social Sciences at West Point, they really helped you. They remained apolitical, and they challenged your preconceived notions and biases. I've seen a lot of people, they either go in with these notions, they're challenged and they're strengthened in their belief, or they go in, they're challenged, and they completely switch. But I will say our professors and instructors all were super apolitical, and they really just challenged us from an academic perspective.
No, I could imagine. I remember I was a management major, so it was business, behavioral science, what's up? Best department there.
BSNL.
BSNL. But what's interesting is that given that American politics degree, your experience at West Point, especially systems engineering, I imagine that was preparing you for something greater, because you obviously graduated, and then you moved on to we all like to say we barely graduated. It was tough. But I think there was an even tougher challenge, because I think you went to the Soaring Eagles or something.
The Screaming Eagles.
Sorry.
I did go to the 101st Airborne, and I was there my entire career post West Point. I served in a whole bunch of different roles, and it was a really great experience. I think I really learned a lot about how to lead an organization and how to think creatively and adapt and kind of observe the way a system works and figure out ways to innovate and change that existing system to a structure that's more effective, essentially. My last job in the Army was as an innovation officer. So myself and a bunch of other innovation officers helped run a makerspace, basically a lab, where soldiers could come in with a problem set and we would try and come up with a solution for it. So one of the things we worked on with the 119er was it's a howitzer. There was a cable on it that was constantly breaking. What we realized is that the connector type was what was causing that failure. So we redesigned that cable so that it was a more robust connector type and reduced the failure rate overall. And so that's an example of one type of project that we did. We also did a lot of what we call design thinking workshops, where a senior leader will come to us with a problem and they'll say, hey, I want you to bring a diverse group of soldiers together and brainstorm solutions for this problem. So I would lead these workshops where bring these soldiers in, present the problem set. The senior leader would give them a speech on that first day about why they were there. We would spend 2 days doing a super deep dive into the problem set, brainstorming solutions. And then on the third day, they would actually present their recommendations to the senior leader. And that experience was super, it was insightful in a lot of different ways. And I also really loved that senior leaders were taking their time out of their schedule and really hearing what their soldiers had to say about a problem. I think, soldier-driven innovation was a huge experience for me. I would say it's really formative, and it's something that I look back fondly on.
Well, that explains a lot, given my interaction with you in real estate, how creative, adaptive, and really focus on making a change in people's lives. It's really cool to hear that, in your last chapter in the military, you were able to, get a patent for that cable, but really contribute, but also really test those skills that I think really benefited you for your time in real estate. Because, while you're with the 101, you really had a chance where you get to understand how the community at 101 really works with the environment, the built environment.
Absolutely.
And it's really cool how you were in that chapter of being innovative. You're transitioning out. You're seeing other changes or other challenges happening in the environment. And I imagine, given that experience and that opportunity, you saw that there was a new calling.
Yeah.
And so I think the new calling is similar to what?
Well, so real estate has really been the big focus there. I actually started my real estate career before I ever even got to the innovation job. So I started flipping houses in Nashville when I was still with 2nd Brigade of the 101st. And what I expected to be a fun project, I love the construction, the design, every part of flipping really, except for managing the subcontractors. I really enjoyed. And that was kind of a passion project for me. And obviously, investing and making a little bit of money on the side was great also. But what I realized through that experience is that I really wanted to get my license and become an agent. And I've mainly started doing that just so I could buy and sell my own flips. My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was doing all my listings for me. And Brian, you know us. So obviously there's some competition there, and I just wanted to be able to kind of like do it myself, essentially. And owe a lot to him. He taught me a ton. But that's why I started, and it blew up because of the USMA real estate network, bigger than I really expected, I think.
No, that's awesome. There's a lot of golden nuggets there. You obviously had a little Costco free sample before
right.
with flipping. Wow, that's a lot of courage right there, especially when you're in the military and you're balancing that career, but then you start dabbling into flipping. Another golden nugget is you didn't do it alone. So it's good that Axel was helping you, because just like I had with Lana, I was in the military, Lana was in real estate, so it's good to see that dynamic. Yeah. And it's, we have in our office #BetterTogether.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that, you didn't do it alone. And I could see how that just builds up to where you're like, I think this is a new calling. And, the last golden nugget I heard is network equals net worth. And so it's really cool that you highlight a very special network. And so everyone listening, think of the network, think of the tribe that you have. It doesn't have to be an alma mater. It could be anything. But remember, the riches are in the niches. Network equals net worth. So that's amazing. And so obviously you decided to take the path of a licensed real estate professional. And the word on the street was your first year was explosive. So talk about like that success for listeners thinking they're going to make the transition to real estate.
Yeah.
What were those key factors?
So I think there were several things that allowed me to be successful in that first year. And to be fair, I am no giant in my market at all. But for a first-year agent, I was really shocked by how busy it was and how many transactions we did. I'll say that I think I really owe it to a few different people and a few different organizations. But what allowed me to jump in kind of head first and just get going was the fact that I had Axel there with me to coach me through a lot of the nuances of how you structure a deal, how you write a contract, how you manage expectations with clients. I mean, all of those really difficult lessons that new agents learn. I had heard him dealing with those same things with clients for years. We've had conversations about it. And anytime I encountered something new that I didn't recognize, I had him to kind of refer back to. So for those purposes, I mean, I owe him so much of what I've learned with real estate. I owe to him. And then I think I already alluded to this, but the Usman Real Estate Network and the absolute sheer loyalty of our alumni network is insane. I mean, my first year I had multiple, $1 million plus buyers that were like, well, you're a newer agent, but you're a West Pointer, so I'm going to buy with you. And knowing that somebody trusts me implicitly, I think that's a really it's a heavy burden, right? Because you know that someone trusts you, so you have to fight for them and you have to earn that trust and deserve that trust continually. So that's a little humbling, but then also it's just really, I think it's a beautiful thing. And deserving that trust and continuing to behave in like an ethical manner and making sure that we're always fighting for the best interests of our clients it's really one of our core tenets.
No, love it. I love how you emphasize again, you're creating kind of like that support group. And in the military, we all need a support group, whether they're active or not. We've created people surrounding you to support you. And so that's good to hear that. Like Lana, she was teaching me too, helping me understand, contracts and negotiations and stuff like that. So it's good that, you recognize your boss.
Yeah.
A network, we can't emphasize it enough, but what's in there, that parable of network is how trust is what really bonds that network.
Absolutely.
And it's really cool. And I know we're definitely going to talk about trust, especially as you continued progressing in your military career. And so continuing that theme of better together, there was someone in particular that was your, I don't know, are you Batman or he's Robin? I don't know.
Right.
But I understand.
My James Tabur, if you will.
Yeah, that James Tabor. Everyone, what he's we call him Stable Dad. But it's good that you had someone else along this journey.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah, so one of my classmates joined me pretty early on. I think I was at about 18 months. I started my team for the Middle Tennessee area, and I brought on one of my classmates, Garrett Beck. Shout out to you, Garrett. You're the man. But no, honestly, I brought him on as a buyer's agent, and I taught him all the things that I learned from Axel: how to write a contract, how to manage expectations, all of those nuances of real estate that are really important. And I think what I didn't really expect is that he has a super analytical mind, and he was seeing the same things that I was. And he taught me a lot as well. And I think that's a really important characteristic of any superior subordinate relationship. I think being able to take feedback up and down, I think, is really important. And then pretty soon after, he became my business partner on this nationwide effort that we have, which is Mill Move, which we'll get to. But it's truly been an incredible experience to partner with him And then at the same time, he's continued on as one of my lead buyer's agent from Middle Tennessee. And so the level of trust that we have with one another, I think, is one of the most important aspects of what we're building here.
No, I love it. It's a great example that your assets, your resources, your people are right in front of you, especially in the military. So if you're listening and you're thinking about transitioning to real estate or something else, think about the people around you during that whole saga in the military. On average, we stay at least 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever the case is. That's free R&D.
Oh, absolutely.
That's free experience, and it's hard to really gauge trust in a little job interview.
Oh, yeah.
But it's pretty easy after 5 years, 3 years running and gunning in whatever capacity in the military. So that's incredible. It's a big nugget. Think about the people who you love, like, and trust in the military. Ask them if they want to start a venture with you.
Yeah.
So that's awesome there. And you're right. In the Lana Rodriguez Group, we call them executive agents or partner agents. Yeah. And we really feel that they bring a whole set of skills that you could say they more shape the operation. So if you think about the military, think of yourself as decisive, Garrett, as your shaping operation. So when you put them together, it's mission success.
100%.
So that's really cool to see that. But did he do the next initiative, or was it a mixture of both? Like, how did Mill Move take place? And talk about it.
So it was a little bit of a mixture of both. So I really had the idea to lean on some of our military social media influencers, military content creators, and leverage those relationships in order to connect with folks who are looking to buy and sell real estate. And so that was really my piece of it, focusing on the marketing, the social media, the education of it. Garrett kind of saw this gap that we had. I was focused on Middle Tennessee. He said, PCSing is a huge pain. Like it's a struggle. Lots of times the spouse is doing it on their own while the service member is doing training or schools or whatever. And there's really no comprehensive custom PCS solution out there for these families that are moving from one place to the other. And, I think we could do something like that. And I wasn't thinking national. I'm focused on Middle Tennessee, obviously. And I'm like, that's pretty lofty. But the more we talked and the more we discussed things, the more I realized that we could leverage our existing network of trust that we already have with some of our referral partners throughout the country, combine that with some of the custom resources that we've built out for every duty station in every major city in the country, and pair those two together to provide true value to military and veteran families. So really, at its crux, like Mill Move is a fully personalized and customized PCS solution for military and veteran families, PCSing or relocating from one place to the other. When someone works with us, they do an intake questionnaire. We get all their pertinent details, and then we put together a PCS survival guide that's complete with everything they need. It's preloaded with all the DD forms that they need to move from one place to the other. It's got, all these blank document protectors for the 6 copies of orders that you need and, all the different forms that they need. And then it also does a breakdown of like an HHG move versus a PPM move or Diddy move. Yeah. It's got a listing checklist. It's got home buying checklist. It's got all of these different resources that lay everything out in a super comprehensive way. Info sheets on the duty station that you're going to with all key locations, because we all have been to that duty station where we're on Google Maps trying to figure out where CIF is, but it moved 2 weeks ago and now we have no idea where we're going. And so we're constantly updating that and making sure that those key locations that we're giving out to our folks are accurate. And then, depending on whether a family has kids, pets, whatever, you're going to have recommendations in there for childcare, pet care, veterinary care, all those things that a family would need specifically for them. It's customized there as well. It'll have information on the surrounding area. I mean, really, we have thought very thoroughly about the process of moving from one place to the other and taken it to the absolute extreme. Once they have that binder, we also pair them up with a trusted lending partner. We pair them up with one of our partner agents in the duty station that they're moving to. And we make sure that if they're selling a house in one location and buying in another, that timeline is lined up perfectly and seamlessly so they have no gap in housing. We do temporary occupancy agreements on the front end or on the back end, whichever is going to be most expedient. And we make sure that everything is taken care of from start to finish. And so we really are looking to fulfill a gap that, in my opinion, we all love our time in the Army, we love our time in the military, but this is something the military should be doing for these folks. Since they're not, we're happy to fill that gap in a way that allows us to build a business, but also provide true value to these military and veteran families. Another thing that we do personally, all of our agents agree to a strict code of ethics, right? And so a lot of this comes directly from our experience with the Honor Code at West Point, but there are some added caveats to it. But what it boils down to is we agree to behave honestly and ethically and never advise a client against their own best interest, right? And what that comes down to is we have to spend a ton of time understanding the client's need so that we can advise them appropriately. That's why we do our intake questionnaires. That's why our consultations are super in-depth, because it's not about us. It's not about maximizing commission on a single sale. It's all about earning the trust of that client so that we can help them PCS without the stress from their first move to retirement and beyond. So we really are looking to earn the trust of these clients to be able to help them for life. And then finally, there are a lot of other details here. We focus on educational videos. And then we also give 10% of our profit from each sale to a military or veteran charity of the family's choosing. We vet our charities, so we have a list of approved charities currently. But if someone had a different charity that they wanted to give money to, we would just vet them and make sure that they're using that money effectively and make sure that they're doing good things with it. That's a lot of information, fire hose, but that's really the gist of what we do at Mill Move. It's all about providing true value to military and veteran families.
Well, I just want to get back in the military and do a little PCS move with you. That's how motivated I am.
Let's go. I'm sure the recruiter's office is open.
Yeah. I got out.
Lana would love that.
Army don't need me. But no, that's so cool. You wonder when I joined when I was 18, and USAA could have seized that opportunity decades ago. I'm not saying you haven't, but I'm just saying there's competitors.
Don't worry
there.
about it, USAA. We got it.
Yeah. But that's really cool because if you think about it, you were in the design thinking workshop, and it's really cool to just see how you used your experience naturally, and it just unfolds. And so if you're out there in the military and you don't think you have skills, you don't think you have experience to add to the marketplace, just map out your career and you could see all the different data points that help you bring value to the marketplace. And I love how you took this challenge and you really just vertically integrated. You saw the challenges and you're like, hey, we're just going to put resources. We're going to put literally down to the decimal. And I love it because, yes, do we all PCS? Without a doubt.
Right.
But every PCS is extremely different. Yes, we all go to A to B stations, but at A to B, it's a different time and space for every person and a different point in their life that just triggers so many other things. And I love how you're getting into the weeds because there's all these little nuances that, for example, the CIF, well, I wish I knew it was not here and you just wasted 30 minutes.
Well, you just missed your appointment and now you can't get another one for 4 days.
You can't get another one for 4 days, see? And so those little specific means that you care.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's what's so important. You're not just printing off stuff. You're really analyzing, is this document going to be helpful? And that's just so important. One of the things that I really love, and at Real, the brokerage that we're at, we also have a code of ethics, a code of behavior where the agent's supposed to act. And so it's good that you continue those values because it's so important in this day and age where you come from some foundation. And morality is so important, especially when you're dealing with people in their life events. It's not just going to a new duty station. It's literally a change in not only that service member's life, but their families. And so it's really good that you carry that shield with you.
Absolutely. I would say, when you're talking about that, I don't disparage any agents, specifically ever. But the number of agents out there that don't understand the, secondary, the second and third order effects of what we're doing here and how that affects someone's life is insane. The number of times that an agent says, "Oh, we got to push closing. We've got to, push closing back a week." You don't understand, like, those people now have to reschedule their movers, right? They probably lost thousands of dollars in the process. And like, as agents, it should be our job to prevent those things from happening. You know what I mean? Like, I don't view myself as a salesperson. I'm not a real estate salesperson, right? I'm a guide. I'm a consultant. I'm trying to help them with one of the biggest things they'll ever do in their life. And there's a level of trust there that I think some people take for granted. And we really make sure that all of our partner agents don't take it for granted. All of our partner agents take our role very seriously, and we make sure that we prevent those types of situations.
No, I love it. One of the big things in any military is a unified front, from the way up all the way to the soldier on the ground. And it's good to see that you really kind of cast that leadership all the way down. Now, this seems like you're walking in really your path that you're at. I'm not saying you're at the pinnacle yet, but you're definitely
far from it.
You're definitely going a certain way in your career where you see this in the very long term.
Yeah.
So how do you see MillMove in your career in the industry, the marketplace, and in the military? Like, where do you see that? What are the goals?
Yeah, so I would say ultimately, I hate to put a specific number on it because I think goals are really important, but also I think when you've achieved the goal, it's what do I do then, right? And so I also don't want to put a number on it because these are people's lives. It's much deeper than just a number. But if I truly do have to put kind of a number to it, I think in 3 to 5 years we want to corner 1% of the total PCS market. That's our 3 to 5 year goal. Long term, I don't know that it's necessarily about a bottom line number. I think it's more about the quality of service that we're providing to our clients, right? And so rather than, hey, we want to corner this percentage of the market, I want to make sure that we have 85% of our clients be return clients, right? So when they move from one location to the other, I want to maintain, 85% continued business. And so I think that's an important metric for me because it shows that we're doing things right and taking care of people. It's not necessarily about the bottom line number as a business or about the market share, but it's more about how we are dealing with people and how we're caring for people, which is ultimately what matters to us.
No, I love it. And, in any business, there has to be outcomes. There has
Absolutely.
to be goals. And I love how you really take a humble approach because, yes, it is a business. Yes, you have operating expenses, payroll, whatever the case is. So revenue has to be generated. But what I really feel is that you have a goal to impact. And you're like, if we can impact 1% of the market, if we can get 85% of our people that we impacted come back to us,
Absolutely.
we win.
Yeah.
And it goes back again to what was important to you when you started this real estate journey about trust and that network, because you're creating a network within
Absolutely.
MillMove, both internally and externally. And so really excited to see that because I'm noticing that you're actively listening to the market. You're trying to create custom solutions, which really, really touch people because, man, this is for me.
Yeah.
I love how, you're consistent. If you think about everything that you've gone through your journey, is you're consistent with your relationships, you're consistent with your professionalism, you're consistent with your mission. And that's really what people need to be striving for. You're not saying you're trying to be the best of the best of the best with honors on Men in Black, but you are trying to show up every day.
Yeah.
And that is what's so important because it's dependable.
Yeah.
People can know that, no, MillMove's going to be there. And lastly, I'll tell you this, I know you can't sleep at night because you got so many people depending on you. And yes, is that stress, but I'll tell you what more importantly is that you care. And, in this superficial era, I feel like it's hard, especially when you see things like selling sunset, whatever. I mean, they're all entertaining.
My husband will tell you, I do not let him watch that, and like when I'm around, he loves the show, and I just like, it's just not real.
But you help elevate the industry, the profession, and at the end of the day, you create a really trustworthy service. So hats off to you.
No, I really appreciate that. I really love the sentiment of like consistency and being consistent with relationships, because I'd say some of my biggest regrets in life, generally speaking, it's the times that I've failed to be consistent with relationships. It's the times that I've failed to put back into people. And so that's something that I definitely strive for, because those are my biggest regrets, the times that I've failed to do that. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, thanks for being transparent. I mean, at the end of the day, you got yourself and the souls that you impact.
Yeah.
And so really great to really establish that goal or that golden nugget for people listening. Now, let's set aside this journey.
Yeah.
Because there's more to you than just mill move, real estate, and all that good stuff.
A little more.
Yeah, a little bit more. Maybe a husband, maybe 4 dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well get a zoo going.
Yeah.
But how do you manage? And because it's tough for me.
Yeah.
With kids, a business, my wife, and all this crazy stuff. I don't even know. I don't have any hair. So how?
Wait, is that what happened?
That's what happened.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I wondered.
That's what happened. Entrepreneurship. But how do you balance all this?
I'll say that ultimately, I don't actually, transparency again, I'm big on that. I don't actually think that we do. I think my husband's managing broker for a luxury firm in Nashville. I'm obviously building Mill Move, and we're doing all this, and we don't really do a lot of balance. Like, we work constantly, but I think it's being present in the times that you do have together. And so we do kind of weekly syncs where we look at our calendar and we make sure that everything's aligned, and there are things that slip through the cracks. But generally speaking, if we're going to be gone all day, we schedule a dog sitter to come let the dogs out. We're basically deconflicting our scheduling issues. And then when we are together, we just try really hard to be present with one another. And then another thing that helps is we do keep our businesses separate, but we have a lot of crossover. We have some co-lists that we do together on specific style properties. And then we know a lot of the same people. We go a lot of the same events. And we do a lot of the same charity work. And so integrating our lives in a way that isn't necessarily like work-life balance as of right now, but it can still be time together, I think is really important. We do plan to have more balance later on. We want to adopt in 3 or 4 years. And I think we're working really hard right now so that we have the time and space to do it later on, to be more balanced. So I will say there are a number of times where we're like writing offers or drafting emails or making videos at like 11 o'clock at night. So, I mean, there isn't a lot of balance currently, but we will get there.
No, I mean, part of calibrating the life is recognizing that there's not balance. And what's crazy is that the world thinks that you have to be balanced. And, through my career and through Lana's career, we both have realized that you have to live in this harmony. And so that's good that you're up front where we're not really balanced, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
And I love how you talk about being present, because being present is actually it's active. It's not where you're just static and you're stationary. You're intentional, and you're really focusing on being there. And I love how you give quick tips, right? Integrate schedules, integrate events, integrate communities, because yes. Does my wife like football? Does my wife like GTLing?
Yeah.
No, I mean, yes, she does. But, there's a lot of things that I like.
GTL, was that a Jersey Shore reference?
That was a Gym Tan Laundry acronym.
Okay.
But
right.
She loves those things too. But what happens is that if you guys don't literally create some intentionality with your everyday, you're going to miss each other. And
Absolutely.
And so that's great that you're again being transparent, because entrepreneurship or starting anything that's worth a damn is tough.
Well, and I'll say the other thing is we help each other with our goals, right? And so we're at different brokerages. We have very different models for our business, but we both focus on attracting the right agents for our specific brokerages, and we help each other a ton with that. And so I think part of our, balance that we don't really have is that we work together on so much and we contribute so much to each other achieving our goals that a win for him is a win for me and a win for me is a win for him. And so we share in that collective success in a way that work really does become quality time in that way.
Love it. Win-win, baby. So we've talked a lot.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about how you started at 16 in the Army, how you started at West Point, how you started finding your calling in real estate, leveraging your resources, meeting great people along the way, and then really establishing now a big, important mission, Mill Move. And thank you for sharing, but is there anything that we missed? Is there something where you want to make sure, like, listen, if you didn't listen to this, this is what you should remember?
I'll say, I guess there are really two things. So for those folks out there who are transitioning out of the military or searching for their next career or considering getting out of the military, but they're nervous, there are a couple of things here. One, it's going to be way harder than you expect. Right. Even if I had my business for 2.5 years by the time I actually got out of the Army, everything was flowing beautifully, making great income, should have been a stress-free transition. Leaving the military in general is an emotional experience. I am not too proud to admit that I struggled with that emotionally. You drive away and when you drive away from post, it's a different feeling, right? Like you feel like you've been tethered to a space station your entire career, right? And then somebody just cuts the cable and you're just kind of floating on your own. And I think we all try to act tough and pretend like we don't care and like it's no big deal or that we're happy that we're out, but like feel that. Like, cause that's how much the community meant to you, and allow yourself to go through those and lean on your friends, right? There are far too many folks who get out of the military and struggle and unfortunately, commit suicide, turn to drugs and alcohol. They don't seek mental health treatment. And we all need to lean on each other. And the other thing is like, find your niche, like find something that find something that you understand, find something that you're passionate about, and that's your next career, right? And so that's for anyone who's transitioning or thinking about transitioning. Don't be scared of the transition, but definitely let yourself feel it and find your niche and find the thing that you care about. I know that sounds like obvious, but I think people really are focused on a lot of the wrong things when they transition. Like find the thing, like find your why, so to speak. And then the other piece of this to all those folks out there who are PCSing from one location to another or who have questions about Mill Move, like I post my personal cell phone number everywhere. It's all over social media. I do educational videos on Instagram 3 or 4 times a week talking about all sorts of topics, VA assumption deals, what type of inspections you should do based on the age of the home and common issues, how early you should talk to your listing agent before you're going to PCS. I mean, all of those nuanced things. So, folks should go on there and follow that. Even if they never use our service, just soak up that knowledge and soak up that education. And then also all of our resources are available online for free for anyone to go download. We're not looking to sit here and, I guess like gatekeep. Like we're happy to share those resources with anyone. To get the personalized binder and the personalized program and all of our other services, you have to work with us. But ultimately, if you just want those resources, mill-move.com, go download them. On Instagram, we are mill_move. And, there are a ton of resources that we're looking to give out to folks, whether they use us or not, because we really care about the veteran and service member community and their families. I think those families have enough to deal with, and if there's a way that we can help them PCS without the stress, that's what we want to do.
No, I love it. How you really are setting expectation management for a very monumental episode in people's lives.
Absolutely.
And I love how you get right into it. It's like, do what you love. Find that niche that's specific to your superpowers. So that's really helpful because, again, once you leave, headhunters come. People are like, hey, you should do this. You should do that. No.
And all of a sudden you're in Toledo, Ohio, making $60,000 a year, and you don't even know how you got there.
That is true. You could find yourself in a place where, rocking a hard spot. So, no, that's awesome. And this episode has really invigorated, I think, the Duty on a Real Estate message. And transitioning is hard. Transitioning alone is harder.
Absolutely.
And it's really cool that you talk about lean on each other.
Oh, yeah.
And we did that with our battle buddies. We did that with our peers or subordinates.
I mean, we do that with each other, Brian.
Yeah,
you and I talk once a week or once every other week about some kind of aspect of a struggle,
Yeah. And it's not just lean, it's watch out.
Absolutely.
Because yes, do we support each other? Yeah, but then there's times where we're hurting.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I need help, And so think about that when you're transitioning. So the Garden of Eden has came and bestowed in Colorado Springs. I can't thank you enough.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
so much, of course, big man.
Thank you.
Yeah. On the stay tuned for the next episode. It's going to be a credible one. Anyways, thank you.